Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's English file lesson. My name is Karabo Sidei. This lesson is brought to you by Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with the Saibono Discovery Center. Our lesson this afternoon, grade 12 learners, is literature. Our focus is short stories. The stories that we are going to look at today is Forbidden Love as well as Rejection. I'm sure you all know the titles of the stories that we have to study this year. Yes, you have your book changes, but you do not read through the whole book. You only have to study about how many stories? You've got to study 8 stories. And what are the titles of the stories? Forbidden Love, Rejection, which are our focus stories this afternoon. We have Evelyn, A Bag of Sweets, Class Act, The Wind and a Boy, The Girl Who Can, as well as Triumph in the Face of Adversity. Our objectives this afternoon is we need to understand the following. 1, we need to understand what setting is. So we will analyze setting in the story Rejection and discuss how it influenced the plot and characters. Secondly, we are going to explore state of mind of the characters, particularly of what? Of the narrator, and discuss how their emotions and thoughts drive the narrative, that is the whole story. Thirdly, grade 12 learners, our focus is going to be on figures of speech. We're going to analyze the figures of speech in Rejection and then also look at the impact the figures of speech have on the narrative. Fourthly, we are going to focus on the themes. We are going to identify central themes in the Rejection and discuss their relevance to the characters and the overall message of the story. Mark it or look at the word relevance. We're not only going to identify the figures of speech, but we have to look at the relevance of the figures of speech and how they impact in the overall message of the story. We're also going to look at critical thinking. Can you think critically? Are you able to justify your opinions? Are you able to look at open-ended questions and the themes in the story in a critical way? We value, most importantly, grade 12 learners, we value your judgment. We want to know what you think. We want to emphasize to you that you are an active participant in the study of literature. We do not want you to sit back, read, or listen to your teacher and not be actively involved in the story. Lastly, what we have dealt with in as far as concepts are concerned, we want to see that you are able to apply all this in the story Rejection as well as in another title, forbidden love. Like I said when I opened, that we are going to deal with rejection and with forbidden love. With forbidden love, what will be happening is that you will be doing the application of things that we have learned this afternoon. Coming to this class this afternoon, you ought to know the following basic literary terms. I'm sure you have heard of these words before, or these terms, or these concepts below. You know what is setting, isn't it? Setting refers to what? To time and place where the story occurs. It can include physical location, historical period, as well as social context. Importantly, setting has to do with what, learners? Time and place. You knew it before, isn't it? The when and the where. With the reference, with setting, like I said, the time and place of the extract. When you start with any literature set work, your focus will be, where did this story take place? It is a historical period, a more bigger, or a bigger setting that we learn from. But closer to home, we are going to focus on the time and place of the extract. This is what you will be asked in the exam. In My Children, My Africa, you know that My Africa was set during the apartheid era. So that's the setting, there's the historical period. But when we come down to the specifics of the drama, or the specifics of the short story, as in this case, we are looking at the time and place in the extract. You know what figures of speech, isn't it? We have common figures of speech that you easily identify, and those are your metaphors, your simile, and personification. All of us know these three. And then perhaps add hyperbole as another figure of speech. These are the more difficult ones, but these easy ones, or easily recognized, that we use on a daily basis, will be your metaphors, your similes, and your personification. You've heard of this word before, isn't it? Themes. Your understanding, we need you to understand your understanding of the central idea or message in a literary work is called a theme. Boys and girls, our focus is, we need you to have comprehensive reading skills. That is, we want to check if you are able to read with understanding. You need to read with understanding. You don't just read, but you read with understanding. And when you read with understanding, you are able to identify key details in the story. Your ability to pick out information. You are able to make inferences. When we say you are able to make inferences, it means you are able to draw conclusions based on the evidence of the text. Remember what I said earlier, that you are the active participant in the study of literature. So we want you to draw conclusions. We want to also equip you or empower you with the ability to analyze text. You are able to break down a passage to understand its deeper meaning and implications. You don't just read on the surface, but you go deep into the text that you are studying. And you have your critical thinking and discussion. You are able to express an opinion and also to engage in a discussion. When we want to express your opinion, we want you to be comfortable to share and support personal views with evidence. Not just evidence, but evidence grounded. We say evidence grounded in the text of the story. You are not going to be making sweeping statements, but you have to give us evidence that is grounded in the text. And you need to be able to consider different perspectives. There will be some of you who will be agreeing with the statements given, and there will be some of you who will be disagreeing with statements given. In other words, you will be able to say, no, I don't agree, or you say, yes, I agree. And in either way, you should be able to give us your personal opinion as well as evidence that is grounded in the text. Now, boys and girls, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to look at these questions. Not just look, I want you to attempt these questions. The questions are: what is the primary setting of the story Rejection? Is it in a rural village? Is it in a bustling city, a suburban neighborhood, a coastal town? Or the second question is, the narrator initially reacts to Mudo's second marriage with what? Is it with anger and confrontation, with indifference, or with acceptance and dignity, or with joy and celebration? I'm not going to give you 3 minutes. I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to answer these questions. 2 minutes, start now. Thank you, boys and girls. We are back. But I'm going to give you yet another 2 minutes to finish our test. So the next 2 questions. Daba gives the narrator the following advice regarding her marriage to Mudo. A. To seek revenge, to ignore the situation, to forgive Mudo, to divorce Mudo. The 4th one. Why does the narrator reject Tasma's marriage proposal? The answers. She wants to retain her independence. She is still in love with Mudo. She dislikes Tasme. She plans to marry someone else. So you have 2 minutes to complete the exercise. Good. Welcome back, learners. I hope you have nailed the activity, and I know you have enjoyed to answer this. So let's look at the first question. The first question is, what is the primary setting of the story Rejection? You got it right, isn't it? It's in a bustling city. Number 2, the narrator's initially reacts to Mudo's second marriage with what? With acceptance and dignity. She's not fighting, she's accepting of her situation. So you give yourself a mark. If you did not get it right, please correct. Daba gives the narrator the following advice regarding her marriage to Mudo. The advice is to do what? To divorce Mudo. And who's Daba? Daba is the daughter, isn't it? And advising the mother, who's the narrator, to say, divorce my father. Right. Why does the narrator reject Tasman's marriage proposal? The answer is she wants to retain her independence. Remember, she was settled with Mudo, who betrayed her, married a younger girl, and then, now that she's no more, Tasman is trying his luck to want to marry the narrator. Are you familiar with this terminology? We speak of a protagonist, and a protagonist is the main character in a story or novel or a play. The play revolves, or the story revolves around the protagonist, who is our hero or central figure, who most of the time faces challenges and undergoes personal growth. We have this word that we use, terminology, antagonist. And what is an antagonist? An antagonist is a character. What is this character doing? Opposes or forces or is against who? Against them. I'm sorry about that. Is against the protagonist. Let me close this. Oh.
Do you know that you are different? Do you know that your fingerprint is different? Is different from your peers, from the people that you are studying with. So do not compare yourself with your peers. Do not compare your results with what they're getting, because you are different. You have your own talents and skills, and also you have your own gifts. Embrace what you can do. Always put in the work to make sure that your results become better than what they were yesterday. But do not compare yourself, because when you compare yourself, you do not know what another person has, and they do not have what you have. So believe in yourself. You are different, and keep on putting the work.
Okay, welcome back. I was explaining to you what an antagonist is. An antagonist, a person or a character who is opposed to the protagonist or creates conflict in the story. So today you know with protagonist, that is our main character, antagonist, someone who creates conflict against who? Against the protagonist. So let's look at the title of our short story. Does it make sense? Rejection. What is rejection? Rejection means dismissal or refusal of a proposal or an idea. If you do not want to do something, you reject it. Right? The story is about the narrator who, at the end of the story, rejects the idea of marrying her late husband's brother. This rejection gives the narrator the power and voice in society. And again, the fact that she rejects the notion of being of her peace being taken away, where she accepts the marriage of the husband with dignity. So she's not about going to fight. So she rejects the negativity. She embraces peace. At the end, when Tasman wanted to marry her, what happens? she rejects the proposal. Okay. Let's look at the plot of the story. And what is the plot of the story? It's a sequence, it's a narrative events arranged of events arranged in sequence. We have what you call a Freytag pyramid. The Freytag pyramid gives us an indication where the story starts and where the story ends. We start with the exposition, where the story begins, and then it gains momentum. We have our rising action, and then at the end, we are in the midst of the conflict, and then we want solutions, and at the end, we have what we call a denouement. Right. The exposition is the start or the beginning of the story. There's a crisis that is created here. And she has been living a great life with the husband as well as the daughter. But the daughter, Daba, seems like the one who introduced the problem at home. Daba brings Beneteau, her classmate, to their home. Frequent visit. She is described as a young, not only young, but beautiful, and also very poor. And as Beneteau visits this family, Mudou, the husband, looks at this child and he is attracted to Beneteau. And remember, Beneteau and Daba are classmates. Rising action. That was the start of the story. Now the rising action. Beneteau's relationship with an old man transforms her into a new person who wears expensive dresses. You remember when she first visited? She wore very poor clothes. And somebody was accompanying her every time she went away. And who is that? That is Mudou. Would find a reason to go out of the house and accompanied Beneteau. And subsequently, Beneteau also started wearing expensive dresses that got the attention of the narrator as well as Dab. They could see the transformation, and they did not know who was the main culprit in the transformation. The narrator's daughter shares all her friends' secrets with her mother, including Beneteau's crisis of being courted by the sugar daddy. So Beneteau, much as she accepted the clothing of this sugar daddy, who happens to be Daba's father, shared the courtship that the courtship or the crisis that she finds herself in. Then the mother, Daba, relates that to who? To the mother. Beneteau has no choice but to marry the old man because her mother is desperate for a better life that will be provided by the sugar daddy. Is it not sad? Sugar daddy, and who's the sugar daddy? Sugar daddy is Daba's father. That's an amount of what? Betrayal. We see betrayal there. And then we see the rising action. The climax is when on this Sunday afternoon, 3 men visited Mudo's house. And the men were Tasman, Modo, and the Imam. They come to make an announcement. An announcement to who? To the narrator and the family that your husband has taken a new wife. And that husband is the sugar daddy that they have been discussing all this time. Sad. They both feel humiliated and powerless as they experience those rejection. Do you see where the title fits in? The family feels that this father, Mudo, has betrayed, not only betrayed, but rejected them as a family. How could he? The following action or the resolution, the narrator finally gets a chance to unleash her bottled anger on the 40th day of mourning her late husband, Mudo. Karma, isn't it? The husband, Mudo, dies. Then the silly Tasme comes in to announce his intention to marry the narrator. But the narrator makes her speak out. She stops taking abuse and brings her power and independence as a woman and say, I will not. I don't want to. She decides that no man will ever decide how she must live her life. So the shackles of prison through marriage falls off. So she's now a free woman. I'm going to read this extract with you, boys and girls. Read with me from your text. They entered laughing, deliberately sniffing the fragrant odor of incense that was floating on the air. I sat in front of them, laughing with them. The Imam attacked. There is nothing one can do when Almighty puts two people side by side. True, said the other two in support. Of course. He took a breath and continued. There is nothing in this world. True. Tasne and Mudo chimed in again, saying some things we may find to be stand are much less so than others. I followed the movement of the haughty lips that left fall these axioms, which can precede the announcement of either a happy event or an unhappy one. Immediately, when she heard those words that there's nothing one can do when Allah, the Almighty, puts two people side by side. There's nothing in this world. And the two other companions chimed in saying, true. So our narrator seated there looking at these people. She's thinking, what could be the matter? What are they going to tell me? Has Mudo died? Are they going to tell me bad news or good news? What was he leading up to with these preliminaries rather announce a storm? There is quiet before the storm, isn't it? So she is afraid. What is going to happen? What are these three men here for? So their visit was obviously planned. Does one announce bad news? Dress up like that in one Sunday's best? So what goes through her mind is that these men visit on a Sunday. They are wearing their Sunday best, and they are telling me that about the Almighty. So they have planned this all along. What is it that they are here for? Or did they want to inspire confidence with their impeccable dress, their good dress? They have a good sense of dressing. I thought of the absent one. And who is this absent one? The absent one is Modo. He's not in the house, isn't it? I asked with a cry of a hunted beast, Modo? And the imam, who finally got hold of a leading thread, had tightly onto it. He went on quickly, as if the words were glowing embers, were like fire coals. So when you have fire coals in your hands, what do? You hold on the fire coals. Will you stand 5 minutes or 2 seconds with the fire stove, with the fire coals in your hands? No, you will touch and leave them quickly because they are too hot. So that's what he said. Yes, Mudo fall, but happily, he's alive for you. But for all of us, thanks be to God. We thank God he is not dead, he's just alive. Boys and girls, I know you are enjoying the story. I know you want us to continue to explain what this story is all about. But we need to also look at aspects of literature that makes our story very interesting. And one of the features is the setting. Like I said initially, setting refers to what? To the place as well as the time. Place is where the story takes place. Time when the story takes place. Boys and girls, we do not refer to time as in hour or in day or in seconds, but in context. Time in context. How do we approach setting or how do we learn setting? It's always or can be revealed by the following. The dialogue between characters with descriptive passages. It can be the setting can be revealed through action, like the action that happened this afternoon. How does a character speak or act? So that will be the setting. Now I'm going to give you a few minutes. You heard when I read the extract, isn't it? I want you to give me the time and place where this extract is said. This is how you can find the question in the exam paper. Or they can ask it this way. Describe the setting of this extract. Both these questions are asking for what? They're asking for time and they're asking for place. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to work out the time and place of the setting. Describe the time and place where this extract is set. or describe the setting of this extract for 2 marks, and that will be 2 minutes, which starts now. Okay, learners, the answers. I know you have nailed the setting question. Firstly, let's look at the general setting and of the time and place of the story. The story is set in the contemporary period, reflecting the social and cultural context of the time. It's taking place where? In Senegal, and it highlights the local customs and traditions of people living in Senegal. But this is not what I have asked you. I have asked you to do what? To describe the setting of the extract. Or we asked you to give us the time and place of the extract. So the time is after the marriage of Modo. We are not saying at 2 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, or on Sunday. We know it was on a Sunday, right? So that will be time. But we don't want that. We don't want you to give us the actual clock time or daytime, but we want you to put it in context. So it happened when? After the marriage of Mudo to Benento. It was during Mudo's second marriage time. It was when the visitors come to inform her, who? The narrator of Mudo's second marriage. Do you see that? Yes, that's what we want you to do. I hope you got it right. Then the place. If you wrote Sunday, can you cross out and give yourself a big wrong? But if you said after the marriage, or Mudo's second marriage, or when the visitors come to inform her of Mudo's second marriage, then a big tick placed. The extract takes place in the narrator's home. So there's the place. Can you see? The when, and the where. When as in time and where as in place. I hope you have aced that one. The second literary device that makes literature to be interesting is state of mind. And what is state of mind? State of mind refers to the mental and emotional condition of a character at a particular moment. So when I explain state of mind, I normally touch my heart. It has to do with what? With feelings and with what? With your reasoning. So it will be your heart, if I draw the heart there, and then also your head, right? So it will be your mental, that is, it is your head, and then your emotional, that is, will be your heart. So each time you hear state of mind, think of heart and head. That is what state of mind is. That particular moment, what you feel. Are you invincible? Are you overly confident? Are you relieved? Happy? So those are the terms that we use to describe what? Your state of mind. Your feeling, coupled with what? With the reasoning. Feeling and reason. There's nothing one can do when Allah, the Almighty, puts two people side by side. True, said the other two in support. A pause. He took a breath and continued. There is nothing new in this world. And who said these words? It is said by the Imam. So, boys and girls, I want you to take exactly 2 minutes to work out the feeling and reasoning of who? Imam. His state of mind. When he said these words, 2 minutes. We are counting down 2 minutes. As I'm talking, you are working it out. There's nothing one can do when Allah, the Almighty, puts two people side by side. True, yes, true, said the other two in support. A pause. He took a breath and continued. There's nothing new in this world. So we want you to tell us the Imam's state of mind when he said these words. 2 minutes. Have you worked out the solution? Did you recognize what he feels? That is the Imam. There's nothing one can do when Allah, the Almighty, puts two people side by side. True, said the other two in support. He took a breath and continued. There's nothing you can do. So we want to know from you his state of mind. The Imam feels uncomfortable and uncertain. He's sort of panicked, isn't it? He's going to break very uncomfortable news. So what he does is he puts in sort of a prelude to say, this is what I'm going to say. Oh, God help me. So he's preparing sort of the narrator's mind to accept what he brings. Here's the reason. As he had to break the news of Mudo's second marriage to the narrator, this is not an easy task, isn't it? It's a hard task for anyone. How do you come in somebody's house and say, your husband has married a new wife? So he had to employ what? He had to check what he felt and what was his reason. So that is, when you add the two together, we're talking of what? Of a state of mind. Okay. The explanation that we can give is that he repeated true, not him, the companions, they repeated true several times, isn't it? And what are they doing when they did that? They were trying to maintain control and authority over the situation, even though they were very much uncomfortable. Now, I have mentioned figures of speech in my opening when we did terminology, and when not terminology, but literary devices. So I want you to, we are not going to pause for 2 minutes, we are going to pause just for a second. Name 3 figures of speech and give examples. Are you ready for me? Figures of speech? Yes. Tebogo? Metaphor. Simile. Personification. So let's see random examples. A metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things without using like or as. You are comparing two things. One and one. You are suggesting one thing is another, highlighting a particular quality or aspects of the thing being described. Time is a thief. Time is a thief. So what have we done? We are comparing what? Time to what? To being a thief. That suggests that time steals moments from our lives, just as a thief would steal valuables. When you have put your 5 rands allowance on the table, somebody steals it. It's like when you have put away time to do something, and then before you know it, time is up. Then we say time is a thief. So that's a metaphor. When we ask you of metaphors, we don't want you to give us the definition, but we want to see the relevance, that you understand what a metaphor is. We use metaphors to create vivid imagery and meaning, and for us as the readers to understand greater or bigger concepts in literature. Let's look at the example in rejection. Her heart felt as heavy as stone. Her heart felt as heavy as stone. What figure of speech is that? That will be your simile, isn't it? The heart is heavy, and then it is being compared to what? It's compared to a stone. It is as heavy as stone. It is when you compare two things that are not similar and you are using something that is very distinct there is what? S. Like S. When we said time is a thief, it's different to time is like a thief. So the first one is a thief, is direct comparison, or not direct comparison, it is an implied comparison. And this one, time is like a thief. We have employed what? A simile. It's known by the use of words like, or as. Right? Yes and yes. Now, I want you to look at the following question for 2 marks. You refer to the extract. I asked with the cry of a hunted beast. Mudo. Identify the figure of speech used in this lines. 2, explain why the figure of speech is relevant in the extract, and that is for 2 minutes. I asked with a cry of a hunted beast. I've asked you to explain or to identify the figure of speech, and it is what? It's a metaphor with the cry of a hunted beast. So that is our metaphor. Now, the second part, the answer to the second part, I hope you got it. Why is this figure of speech relevant in the extract? Just as an animal makes a sound when it is being hunted, so does the narrator cry out when she realizes the truth about Mudo's second marriage. That the Imam is referring to Mudo, that something terrible has happened to Mudo. So she's crying out. In actual fact, she's crying out because she's scared that something terrible would have happened to Mudo. So she's worried. Mudo? And we want to know. She screams like a haunted animal. The metaphor with the simile with the cry, or as with the cry of a hunted beast. The metaphor with the cry of a hunted beast is relevant in the extract for several reasons. Let's look at the results. It emphasizes intense emotion. The metaphor compares the narrator's cry to that of a hunted beast, highlighting the intense fear, desperation, and anguish she feels at that moment. When people come in on a Sunday afternoon and they come and make a speech, and then you can't make out what they are saying. And when they start talking about your husband, what happens? You become anxious and panicked, and then you cry out and you want to know if your husband is well. Boys and girls, another literary device or literary feature that we use when we study our short story is the use of the true false statement. We want you to understand that we will be asking you questions to check that you know your content of the story. Have you read the story? Do you understand the story in all its aspects? When you are asked why is the following statement false, we expect you will be given a statement, and we need you to prove that that statement is false, and then you must read the statement carefully. You focus on the fact that it is incorrect, and you must make it true. We do not ask you why is the statement false, and we expect you to give us a lengthy answer. We want you to change the incorrect fact to the one that is correct. You could also be asked to change one word to make the statement true. So a statement will be given again, and this statement will contain one word which is incorrect. And we want you to do what? To just remove that word and replace it with one that is correct, and that you will be good to go. We can ask you, I'm going to repeat, to tell us why the following statement is false. In that case, we want you to do what? To change just one word that is not correct. We can also ask you to change one word to make the statement true. Again, what do? You just change one word. Here is an example. Let's look at the original statement here. The men in the extract come to have tea with the narrator. Is that why they came that afternoon Sunday, to have tea with the narrator? Why is the statement false? Think. Now, we want you to change one word to make this statement true. The men in the extract come to tell her that her husband, Modo, has taken a second wife. So, what is the answer? The correct answer? We are changing one word. The man come to tell her that her husband, Modo, has taken a second wife. So our original statement would say the man came in to have tea with the narrator. But the correct answer is no, they didn't come to have tea with her. They came to tell her that the husband has taken a second wife. So we give you a mark for that. The man in the extract come to tell her husband, Modo, has taken a second wife. The correct answer would be not Modo, but who? Modo. So the spelling of the words Modo and Mudo, very close, but the correct answer is Mudo. What about themes, boys and girls? What is the theme? A theme is the message of the story or a central idea or message in the story. So you might be asked to identify the theme, meaning you have to work out what the theme is. Or you will be given, what is happening recently is you will be given a theme. A theme is given to you, and what happens now? You have to discuss that theme. So the theme is what the author wants you to learn or to know about the story. The author is addressing certain social issues through their story, and we remember you are the active participant. As an active participant, we want you to tell us what you think the lesson is or the central idea of the story is. In this instance, one of the themes in rejection is betrayal. Discuss this theme. Use the pill method to discuss the theme. Can you see the banana? What do you do with the banana? Do you eat it right away? No. What happens? You peel it. You remove the skin. So how do you do that? You peel it. The P-E-E-L. And then what is the peel method? I want to know from you. With the peel method, boys and girls, you do what? You give a point, you give evidence, and you provide evidence from the text, grounded in the text of the story. So that's the peel. You give evidence. After you have given evidence, evidence would be an example of things that have happened or taken place in the story, and thereafter what happens? You give an explanation to support your example, and then you link back to the main point. I'm going to pause again for 2 minutes. I want you to use this method, the peel method, to discuss the theme of betrayal in rejection. Your 2 minutes start now. Boys and girls, the reason we have this process and we want you to write is at the end of the year or in June, you're going to sit for an exam at school, and we want you to be pouring out your heart on paper. And we want you to see that you know all these things. You have to write. You must do a lot of writing. Think, read, write. Point one of the themes is in rejection is betrayal. What is the evidence? Mudo's decision to take a second wife without informing the narrator. So that's betrayal enough, isn't it? How do you explain it? This act of betrayal deeply affects the narrator, causing her what? Emotional pain and confusion. You will not be happy, isn't it? When you link it back to the story or to the main point of betrayal, it highlights what? Broken trust on relationships. He hasn't only betrayed the narrator, but also betrayed the daughter, Daba. And it's not only Mudo that betrayed Daba, but Beneto's betrayal of Daba. How can you be my friend and then marry my father? That's betrayal, isn't it? Beneto betrays Daba, her friend, by marrying Daba's father, Mudo. Where's the evidence? Beneto's marriage to Mudo, despite knowing the impact it would have on Daba, demonstrates her betrayal. Has she even spent a second thinking about what it will do to Beneto and her mother? This betrayal involves a close friendship, and Beneto's action shows a willingness to prioritize her own desires over the well-being of a friend, highlighting the theme of betrayal in personal relationships. Now, we are moving on to another aspect, which is what? Open-ended questions. When you tackle open-ended questions, like we've dealt it in our previous presentation or lesson, your answers must be grounded in the text. You must justify your opinion. You must give a full statement and support it with evidence from the text. You use the PIL method in open-ended questions, and you make your point, and you either say yes or no. In this one, refer to the short story as a whole. The narrator can be admired for her strength of character. And who's the narrator? Discuss your view. Can she be admired for her strength of character? The point is, yes, the narrator can be admired for her strength of character because she handles challenging situations with dignity and independence. The narrator, though she's shocked, she accepts the news of Mudo's second marriage with dignity. And that gives her the ability to maintain composure, even though she was betrayed. The narrator can be admired for her strength of character because she handles challenging situations with dignity and independence. She refuses to be influenced by Daba to divorce Mudo. Remember, the daughter said, divorce him. And she said, no, I will not. And that shows what? Independence. Lastly, she rejects Tasmia's marriage proposal to retain her independence. And that's a big up for her. And that shows strength of character. But Tumelo there says, I don't agree. This doesn't show strength of character. The narrator cannot be admired for her strength of character. The narrator cannot be admired because after 25 years of marriage, she should be fighting for her marriage. She's too passive. She just accepts like that. So I cannot admire, that's what the book is saying, cannot admire somebody who's going to take things lying down, that is accepting that dignity is just being passivity. The narrator cannot be admired for her strength of character because she exhibits passivity and self-blame in critical situations. She should have seen the warning signs. Would she have predicted that Mudo would leave her? That's what she's saying. She should have seen the warning signs. So Mudo paying too much attention to Benito, following a strict diet, trying on several suits before going out, and she should have acted on it. Had she done that, had she paid closer attention, she would have seen the warning signs. Perhaps she would have prevented Mudo from wandering away with Benito. She blames herself that possibly she has done something wrong. So that self-blame also doesn't show what? A strength of character. Now, I want us to look at forbidden love and apply all these concepts on what we have learned from rejection. Remember me, I'm reading from the story, Rejection. Salome confronts the father of her son David. Remember me, you built up my brother because he is in love with your sister. Okay, now I have brought my brother to beat you up because you were in love with his sister. Fair enough, you lie, David said hoarsely. I thought you'd say that. So I brought some proof. Where do you suppose I got this handsome picture of yours, David? And just in case you deny that one too, I'd like your father to read this flaming letters you once wrote to me. She pushed a neatly tied bundle of letters to the old man, saying, touching, and to think I treasured these letters because they came from the only man I ever loved. The old man seemed only then to be suddenly galvanized into life. Get out! Get out of my house! He shrieked. Salome kept cool. Oh, no, you don't. If you get tough, I'll take your son to court for not supporting his child for the last 3 years. She turned to the brother. Mike, you have been asking me all the time who the father of my child was, and I've been silent. I told you it's a man I love. A man who would come in the open if he could, but that his circumstances were exceptional. You thought it was a married man. Well, that is the man. David is the man. Let's look at the time and place where this extract is set. Now I'm not going to give you time. We're just going to answer it now. And just in case you deny that one too, I'd like your father to read this flaming letters you once wrote to me. 2, identify the figure of speech used in these lines. The flaming letters you once wrote to me. I want you to identify the figure of speech there and then explain the meaning of this figure of speech. So, the responses. Time. When Salome confronts David, when Salome wants to discuss her love with David, and when Salome wants to reveal the identity of her child, that will be the time. And then where does the extract take place? In Randolph's house. Randolph's house or Darby's house, Dora's parents' dining room, or house for 1 month. The figure of speech flaming letters, that will be either a hyperbole or a metaphor. If you say it's the hyperbole, it means the flaming letters, is an exaggeration of the emotional intensity of the letters, showing how passionate and significant they were to Salome. If you decide it's a metaphor, the letters are compared to fire flames, flaming letters, because what? They contain passionate, hot content, revealing an intense romantic relationship that resulted in the birth of a love child. State of mind, you remember state of mind? Feeling and reason. What does this extract reveal about Salome's state of mind? Substantiate your answer. Okay. And here is another question. One of the themes in the short story is fear. Discuss this theme. Lastly, Davy is a hypocrite. Discuss your view. State of mind of Salome. Salome is angry. She's determined. And she wants to expose Davy's hypocrisy and demand accountability. That's her frame of mind. That's her state of mind. The discussion of the theme of fear should include, among others, Dora lives her life in fear of being ridiculed by her family and community. Remember when Michael said, perhaps your child is a love child from someone who's married. You are hiding the marriage, the identity of the father because he's married. Then Michael and Dora often hide in tall grasses in secluded area to avoid being seen by the people from her community. And that's fear, isn't it? Hiding. You are hiding because you are afraid. They are afraid because people will be judging them, or they can even get assaulted like it happened at the end. Michael is particularly concerned that the local boys might hurt Dora, so he protects her by keeping her behind him. Davy, on the other hand, fears the rejection from who? From his community, and keeps his child with Salome a secret. And of course, he's also afraid of Mr. Randolph, the father. Okay. The last question. Davy is a hypocrite. Is he not? Is he not a hypocrite? Of course, I can hear you are agreeing that he is a hypocrite. With a relevant, when you answer this type of question, you must state the following. And remember the peer method? Davy is the hypocrite who does not approve of Dora's and Michael's relationship. Yet, at the end, he's hiding his own relationship. He's a coward, isn't it? He will not face to Michael alone. He brings his friends, his color friends, to go out looking for Michael, and they beat him up. Davy is a coward who's not facing his responsibilities, but he is hiding from them. He keeps his lover, Salome, and his child a secret. Tom says, no, he's not a hypocrite. Against the apartheid background, Davy had to protect his sister from disgrace of being involved with a black man. He's in a relationship with Salome and writes her flaming love letters. This proves to some extent that he is truly in love with Salome. Even if he is not making it public, but the writing of the flaming letters. He lives in fear that he will be exposed by Salome, a black woman, revealing that he is the father of the child. So he had no choice, he had to hide. So if you write and give us 3 examples of your point or discussion, your viewpoint, your critical analysis, we can award you 3 marks if it's well substantiated and is grounded in the text. If not, you can earn yourself 1 or 2 marks. It will not be a full day if we don't give you homework. So, for your homework, boys and girls, when I come to your school, I want to see the following. And your teacher wants to see the following. You're going to read an extract to note here, darling, he said hastily. Some car lines may strike upon us. He led her higher up the road into the tall grass. Suddenly she caught his coat lapels and dragged him down so that no one could see them. He clambered towards her and curled her into his arms. His lips thrilled upon hers, burning sweet, and with digging fingertips, she tried to find the source of his fire in his spinal column. Then the flames went out of them, setting in a glow. She broke away with a sigh. She caught a stalk, put it in her mouth, and turned to look at the scattered lines of nude herself. They were at it again, sweetie. She said between her teeth. And what makes me mad is that I cannot fight back anymore. What did they say now? Mike asked a little worried. Mr. Van Pieren was at our place again. It looked almost as if Dad had called him in to preach to us. He spoke about how terribly important is that we keep away from the natives meaning black. Otherwise, we would be associated with them. And his voice had a trick of making that word associated sound horrible. But what made me hate him was the way he stared at Louisa as he spoke. So I want you to describe the setting of the extract for number 1. Number 2, he clambered towards, curled into her arms. Identify the figure of speech used in this line. Then explain the meaning of this figure of speech. For your number 3, quote a single word which proves that Dora takes a deep breath. Question number 4, what does this extract reveal about my state of mind? Substantiate your answer. And one of the themes in this short story is racism. Discuss the theme. Lastly, I want you to decide whether Mr. Randolph is an abusive father. You discuss your view. You can either say yes or you can say no. Grade 12 learners, let's quickly check what we have studied this afternoon. We have explored the complex or intricate dynamics in both rejection and forbidding love through various analytical lenses. We have looked at the setting and we understand what setting is. Setting also in forbidden love. We have checked the state of mind of our characters, both in rejection and forbidden love, where Salome's determination and David's father controlling nature shape the story in progression. So that's the state of mind. We have used figures of speech. We have learned about figures of speech and the metaphors galvanized into life, forbidden love, which vividly describes the old man's reaction. While the hyperbole with letters emphasizes the intensity of Salome's emotions. We have discussed central themes such as love, rejection, social expectations, as well as racism in both racism in forbidden love and rejection and betrayal. We have looked at open-ended questions using the PIL method, and we want you to continue with that. And we have applied the concepts that we have learned from rejection in the story Forbidden Love. And this said, you can apply all those literary devices or questions that we have learned today to analyze all the stories. Okay. So, next week, on the 12th of May, let's meet again here. We will do a bag of sweets as well as Evelyn. We have a date, 12 May 2025, time 14 hours 30 up to 16 hours. Please be on time. Thank you. And as you prepare for your literature exams, and I know now you are doing also your literature task, think of your mind as a garden, ready to bloom with knowledge. Each story you study is like a seed waiting to grow into a beautiful flower of understanding. The characters and themes from Forbidden Love, Rejection, Evelyn, The Wind and the Boy, Class Act, The Bag of Sweets, Triumph in the Face of Adversity, and The Girl Who Can will dance through your thoughts, whispering their secrets and insight. What have I used in writing this piece? I have used figures of speech. And what are those figures of speech? Mind as a garden ready to bloom with knowledge. Grow into a beautiful flower, like what? Like a seed. Then think through your thoughts, whispering their secrets and insights. Boys and girls, embrace this journey and let your imagination soar like a bird, discovering the rich landscape of each narrative. As you go home this afternoon, think of that girl that you have a crush on. Use personification and metaphor and simile to write her a little love letter, flaming letters. See you on the 12th of May. Thank you for watching this lesson. See you next time. Goodbye.